What is going on, you guys? My name is CodyT503, and this is Interesting Podcast. Coming to you guys on December 3rd, 2023 for episode 81, where today we have the return of a very, very special guest. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I upload content. Make sure to go and follow me on social media at CodyT503. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Let's get right into this. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute pleasure to have the return of Spencer Scott.
What up? What's up, Cody? Thanks for having me again.
Oh, man, it is an absolute pleasure to have you back, man. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Of course.
All right, man. Well, let's just start out for everybody who maybe doesn't know you. Maybe introduce your name, how old you are, and maybe how long you've been with Oregon Pro Wrestling School.
Yeah, so my name is Hotshot Spencer Scott. I've been wrestling now for about a little over 2 years with Oregon Pro Wrestling School, all over the Pacific Northwest in Oregon, Washington. I'm one half of the tag team known as the Flamin' Aces. And I'm 20. Did I say I'm 24? I don't know if I said my age already.
Oh, that is awesome. So, like, what have you been up to since the last time that we have spoke?
A lot, man. A lot of training and a lot of shows, mostly. A lot of life's been pretty hectic for the last few months, so I've just been trying to stay good with everything. But a month ago we won the DOA Tag Team Championships, which was a big moment for us. But it was short lived because I unfortunately lost them last night by myself at DOA. Some circumstances came about, so they couldn't make it. But hopefully, I know for sure it's not the end. 100%, it's not the end of it.
That is so cool. Well, let's start to talk a little bit about OPWS before we start to get into the DOA tag titles and whatnot. So it's like, I know I was interviewing Jack Hammer and I had asked him about what it's like being a representative of Oregon Pro Wrestling School. So it's like, what does it mean to you to now be a representative of that school and be able to kind of guide the future students or present students?
It's really cool. It's really weird, having new students, people just join the school, coming up to us and being like, "Yo, you guys, I love your guys' matches. You guys are great." It's really weird. But being a representative of the school, it means a lot because they, our first class of people like me, Zay, Mira, Naja, the Hammer, we all kind of it was on us to make sure that the school kind of succeeded, and we gave a good reputation and made the school look like a very good place, which it is. So it means a lot that we're now kind of trusted as being the not the faces of the school per se, but it's really cool having that kind of tag along with us.
Yeah. So it's whenever you think back and you're kind of guiding those students, kind of thinking back to I guess being a part of one of the first groups to actually graduate from Oregon Pro Wrestling School. So does that mean a lot to you to kind of look back on maybe the possibility of Oregon Pro Wrestling's history and being I was actually kind of one of the firsts?
Yeah, definitely. I try to help where I can. I try not to give too much because I'm still a student. I'm still learning. I don't know everything. I don't have a lot of the answers. I'm learning everything as I go, just like they are. But I try to help where I can, and it's really cool. It's really cool to have, because we've been having a lot of new students. You've seen the pictures. We're getting a lot of new students. It's really, really cool. So I like being able to help where I can and give them feedback and tips on things that I might have struggled with.
Yeah. Yeah, could you possibly like share with us like one of those maybe tips that you had given somebody that maybe you struggled with a little bit before really getting into it?
Well, if you want the real tips, got to come train with us. I can't give them out to the public, you know. But just kind of like it took me a long time to kind of break out of my shell because I'm a little more of like an introverted person. Um, so it's nice when I see a lot of the students coming up, kind of breaking out of their shells and kind of becoming like who they are, who they want to be, and who they're meant to be. So I
Mhm.
just try to help them along the way with that.
That is really, really cool. So it's like how is it kind of coordinating with each one of those new students and then maybe going into a sequence throughout the ring and then kind of being like, okay, well, like let's see what this person can do. And then maybe you get into another sequence with another new student and you kind of have to gauge like, you know what I mean? Like what they're
Yeah. Like
capable of and guide them.
every student like moves differently, and everyone does things differently. So you got to kind of adjust to how the other person does things.
Mhm.
But it's fun. It's a good challenge for me because it keeps my mind fresh, and it keeps me coming up with ideas of how to not only like work with them to make myself better, but to make them better too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had a interesting question just because of like anybody who could possibly see this and maybe want to become a professional wrestler. And I think it's interesting that like I haven't asked this to any wrestler recently, but like what does it take to become a professional wrestler? Like what kind of category would you say that people or personality traits that people have to achieve that?
I don't know if there's one specific like there's like a specific personality or some it has to be like a specific kind of person. Like first of all, it's very time consuming. A lot of time training and a lot of times going to shows that you might not be on, but you know still showing face and still showing that you're out here and you're trying to get in. It's very time consuming. And then once you start getting booked, you know you got to keep track of everything. You got to try and get to as many places as possible. You want to get your name out there. It's also just it's very physically demanding. Like it hurts. It's not a It's not just like a trampoline. Like the ring hurts. All the bumps hurt. Like you'll get hit in the face a lot, and you'll take some bad bumps, and you'll fall down, and all of it. Like you just got to roll with the punches if you really care that much about it and is what you really want to do. But like from all the people I've talked to, like if you're really in it, it takes over your life. Like every aspect of your life slowly will evolve or revolve around wrestling, and that's something that you're if you care enough about wrestling and you still want to get into it and all that, like go for it.
Yeah, that is so cool. Well, I know the last time that we had talked, you guys hadn't actually formed the Super Aces yet. So it's like how was it like going throughout that stint and kind of being able to be a trio in the Pacific Northwest known as the Super Aces?
It's very easy because we were the Super Aces before we were the Super Aces. We just didn't have a name. We were just three lads just hanging out, and being buds. So it was really easy to translate that to the ring. We all kind of wrestle a similar style, and we all have similar ideas and similar visions. So it is very easy for us to kind of connect together. It's just being able to put that on a platform, and luckily we've been able to do that at POW, and it's been really fun. And I hope we can keep doing it at POW and maybe take it more places because I think a lot of fans would really like us as a trio if they got to see us.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like would you say like who mostly brought like the most aspects to that overall trio where you guys were like, man, like that's a great idea. Like how many times did that like come up throughout all of your guys' conversations?
Hundreds. It was all we were talking about, just like coming up with things that we could do and like ways we can stand out and everything like that. But like a lot of it wouldn't be. I mean, obviously, it wouldn't be possible without Jaden. Like he's such a big influence on us, and He's like kind of a mentor to us. Like we're the same age. He's been in this game a lot longer than us, so he's kind of a mentor to us, and it helps with the fact that a lot of people really like Jaden. So the people that like Jaden, they might be more inclined to like us. So he really kind of helped us at the end of the day, and we help him too by, giving him fresh ideas and giving him like just more excitement to want to go out and do the best. So it's a nice little partnership we got going.
That is so awesome. So like one thing I wanted to ask you about is kind of like looking back on like your old tapes or maybe like wrestling matches. And I know like whenever you're like studying something that there's something called digital studies, which is basically like you're going back and looking at everything and how you can adjust it. And so it's like, how often do you do that? Like do you go back and watch your matches and kind of critique yourself in some sort of way?
Definitely. And like it's crazy because like even matches I watched from me from like a year ago, I like kind of cringe just because like there's so many things that like you learn as you go. And you got to make those mistakes to kind of learn from them. So I'll watch my matches back every now and then, but sometimes it's just a little hard to bear because I feel like over the last year we've really improved a lot in the ring. So it's kind of sometimes it's a little hard to watch, but every now and then I'll go back and like see some things that like I could still do better,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I think it would be really interesting to actually be able to like look back on like certain matches and be like, oh, like I could have, maybe dodged that a little bit more, rolled over, you know what I mean, a little bit better, and just kind of like critiquing yourself. Like it's so interesting.
Yeah, it's important to critique yourself. That's the only way you're going to improve is if you make mistakes and you're self-aware enough to kind of recognize them and then act on it, and improve.
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to bring up to you was going to like the Defy like trampoline park. Yeah, and just like going and like practicing a little bit and like I know that there was this one clip where you almost went into like a like inverted trampoline and then you were able to just do like a backflip like perfectly. And so I was like, how is that kind of like coordinated with like what you want to do in the ring? Like,
I mean, it was fun. Like as a friend, like our group chat, like we've been talking about it for a long time. It's just something fun, and we never really have a weekend to be able to do it. So that one weekend, none of us were booked, so we just decided to kind of make a weekend out of it, and like. It wasn't necessarily training, it was a trampoline park. We were just flipping around and being goofballs, but it does help like being like because you can't like you can practice flips in a ring, right? But it's like it's a little harder than at a trampoline park. But it was really fun. That was like one of my most favorite days that I've had in a long time.
That is awesome. I know the last time that we had talked, you had talked about how like parkour was something that you kind of like grew up with. So it's like has kind of like translated with you in the ring, and then maybe can you also explain to us maybe something that you had done with parkour that was a little bit extreme?
I never really did anything extreme when I used to do parkour as a kid. I mostly did like they had the gymnastics area at the YMCA, and I used to go there, and they had like a whole class. So that's kind of where I got my intro to like rolling and like flipping and everything like that. I do like to use aspects of it when I wrestle, just because I feel like it's exciting. Like I really enjoy like the art of like body movement and like the way people can kind of move their bodies and react in certain ways. Like so I try to incorporate a little bit of that, and it also helps that like I don't know, something in my brain, I'm like a little more naturally inclined to want to like zip and zoom around. So it kind of works out that I had a little bit of a background in it.
Yeah, that is so awesome. So here's a really interesting question that I was just thinking about the other day. It's like, how does it feel to be in an industry where you maybe have a plan of like what you want to do, but professional wrestling is always evolving. It's always creating something else. So it's like you never actually know what you're actually going to be stepping into or the storylines that they want to tell for any longevity of your career. Even like I was going to say, like I could imagine, like, a few months ago, before we get into that, like you weren't expecting to be able to get to like Wrestling Open or whatever, but that opportunity comes up. It's
Right.
like everything is constantly changing, and it's like, how is it as a professional wrestler to have to adapt to this whole world of everything evolving, even though you're thinking about maybe what you could possibly do?
I mean, yeah, wrestling is always evolving, so you got to always like keep up with what's going on, what's working right now, what people want to see. Um, yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, like when they're like a lot of the new students when they're getting in, like they have these like ideas of like what they want to do and like how far they want to go, and that's perfect. Like that's great. Like you should have aspirations and you should aspire to be these things, but like I learned quickly, like don't like expect the unexpected. Basically, like you have no idea like what's gonna happen or like how things are gonna play out. So I just try to like enjoy the process and just like enjoy the present of where I am right now, and just kind of soaking in everything because I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I obviously have goals and aspirations. I'm trying to go like a certain direction, but for right now, I'm just trying to enjoy being in this current moment because it's been going really well for us. So I have nothing to complain about, like I don't have to be the world champion, or I don't have to be this and that. Like I'm perfectly content with just going out there and just like having the best matches that I can and just like improving every show.
Yeah, yeah, that is so cool. Well, I have another question. So, like, I was just just sitting here, like thinking, like, if like let's just say, like maybe like AEW like called you up one night and was like, hey, like we have, two positions where, we're filling out a battle royal and we just need some superstars to, fill out the ring and whatnot. Well,
There,
like, do you think that like at this point that like you'd be able to go out in front of such a massive crowd and be able to just do it on a dime?
I sure hope so. No, yeah, definitely. Like if something like that were to happen, like I'd be there. Like I would, I if I had to make it work, I'd make it work regardless. Like when you're given an olive branch, you got to take it. Um,
Mhm.
so and I've envisioned like my goal. I want to wrestle in an arena like really bad. That's one of my big goals. And even if I didn't wrestle, like just being in an arena, being an extra, being like someone, just like it doesn't matter what I'm doing, honestly, as long as I'm getting that opportunity, like I'll do whatever it takes, like
Yeah,
whatever they have for me, whatever they would want to do, I would do it. I'm open to pretty much anything.
yeah. Yeah, here's a really interesting question. So, like, do you think that like that is maybe something that is like holding professional wrestling back? Is the fact that professional wrestling fans almost critique professional wrestling as like just the storylines instead of based off of what the professional wrestler is willing to do for professional wrestling, instead of looking at that aspect, instead of looking at just strictly storylines?
I don't think it holds wrestling back per se, because any way that people are talking about it is good because it means
Hmm.
that they're paying attention. Um,
Yeah.
but obviously, you're gonna have people that like think they understand when they really don't know anything, and it's just kind of like you can kind of just ignore it because I mean, if we've had people talk about us and like the things we've done, and maybe they've been like a little critical about it, and it's fine. It's opinion. Wrestling is very subjective, so one person's opinion isn't necessary. It doesn't always tell the truth. Like there's a lot more to a lot of the stories than just people talk about. I don't think it holds it back necessarily though, but I think it also can be kind of not dangerous, but like people who listen to people talking about wrestling, I suppose, they might just take whatever they say as truth because they don't know any better either. So then people kind of get a misconception of what wrestling is or what it's supposed to be. So that doesn't help it necessarily either. But at the same point, like I said, it's subjective. So it's up to the person watching it to decide.
Yeah. Yeah, I think here's a question for you. So it's like, do you kind of like maybe watch any other like combative sports? Because I've seen like a lot of other like maybe UFC fighters or boxing fighters that like will also watch WWE or whatever just because it's like the respect of both being like opposites. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not a ton. Like I'll watch a UFC event every now and then. I wasn't really ever into MMA that much. I like it, like it's exciting, it's fun to watch.
Mhm.
But it just doesn't hit for me like wrestling does. But I've always been like a fan of like sports. Like I've always watched sports. I always loved basketball like my entire life. I love competition. I like people competing against each other in real time. Um, it's just like the purest form of like entertainment in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything that you could maybe say to people who don't say that like professional wrestling is competitive in its own way? Because I know like I've brought it up before about maybe like a little bit of the competitiveness that you can find. So it's like, is there any competitiveness that you see in your own mind that you would explain to people? There you go.
I mean, it is competitive. Everyone wants to be on the top. Everyone wants to be the best. Everyone wants to be a champion. Like,
Mhm.
sometimes it's not up to them, but everyone wants the same thing at the end of the day for the most part. Um,
Yeah.
so it is competitive. Everyone's competing with each other, but it's not like a competitiveness to where like you're gonna really hate the other. I mean, you know, everyone's different. Things are different, but everyone's also rooting for each other at the same time because we all go through the same things and we all understand the grind and how much it takes out of you. So it's like a brotherhood, but it's competitive as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's a really interesting question. So it's like, how much does it take to become or not become but be a professional wrestler? Because like it has to take a lot of time out of your day or your week where you don't get a lot of rest because you have to obviously like you got to work, you have to go to training, you have to you know book for shows or travel. Like
Mm-hmm.
how grueling is it to be a professional wrestler?
I mean, at the level that I'm at right now, like it's still tiring. It's very tiring. Every weekend having shows, or even if I'm not on a show, I'll still go to shows just because it's just what you do. Um, yeah, I mean, it's tiring. It's definitely not easy, but it's definitely rewarding. Um, I forget the question you asked necessarily, but like, um, well, what was the question you asked about that?
Just how grueling it is to be a professional wrestler and all of the
Yeah.
time that it takes.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. It definitely takes a lot of time, and a lot of people will tell you that the hardest part is everything outside of wrestling. Wrestling's the easy part. Once you're in the ring, that's the easy part. Everything else, managing everything else is the hard part. Like managing
Mhm.
life and jobs and money and time. Like it's very tough, but you find ways to make it work, and everyone's experience is different. Um, so some people might, you know, life has given them circumstances that they might have an easier time managing or a harder time managing depending on what's going on. So everyone's different, but everyone across the board will say it's hard. It takes a lot of time. It's not
Yeah,
it's not easy.
yeah. All right, man. Well, let's start to talk about the DOA Tag Team Championships and when you guys actually defeated the Hammer Brothers to win it. So it's like, can you kind of like walk us through that match a little bit?
Yeah. So the night before we wrestled Konami Code for the number one contendership and Independence, and we got the win there. That was a really good match. And then we went into that match with full confidence. We wrestled the Hammers a lot of times, so by now we know what they do, and we know how to counter what they do and look out for things they do. We happen to get the better of them that night. It happens. And I'm not saying that they're the better team than us or that we're the better team than them. I feel like we're on a pretty equal footing because we've gotten some wins on them, they've gotten some wins on us, and it happened to be our night that night. It was great. It was one of definitely probably the best night of our careers. I would say definitely the most emotional for sure.
Yeah.
But there was a lot that went into that match that like no one else would see.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I had seen like this photo of like you kind of like lifting jackhammer and almost like what the Undertaker would do for like the last ride.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
how
a little pop up. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like how is it like lifting somebody like as heavy as jackhammer? Because like you have to be pretty freaking strong in order to be able to lift him like that. Like that is insane.
That's what you live for, dude, for moments like that. And I'd practiced that move a few times, not on him, obviously, but with some smaller people at the school and like with a crash pad and everything. I'm not trying to hurt them, but I've had this idea for this move, but there's a lot of ways that I can get into it and a lot of ways that I could hit it on somebody quickly. And I just wanted to make sure I could do it. And I had, obviously never done it to him before. I'd never done that move in a match before. So it was kind of just one of those things where the adrenaline was kicking and it was time to go. And I had him up there and it felt right. And we just went and it worked out. Kind of just one of those risks you got to take.
Yeah. Yeah, so like when you were actually in that championship match against the Hammer Brothers, do you feel like their reign as champions was actually really beneficial to you and Zay when you guys actually were able to capture them?
Yeah. I mean, the Hammers are like, as much as they might piss me off, they're a really good tag team. Like they are great wrestlers and they get reactions. Like no matter where they go, they get reactions. They get people paying attention. And they had a really long run and a really good run because they beat a lot of teams. So I think it did help us in that aspect. I think more of it was on the story of our rise in DOA because it took us a long time to get to that. A lot of matches, a few losses. You know what I mean? Like it took a lot from us starting out at DOA to get to that point. So I think the Hammers run did help that in a sense, but I also think a lot of it had to do with the story that we had.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, well, what was running through your mind as the ref hit 3 and then the bell rang and you guys actually won the DOA Tag Team Championships? Like that had to have been crazy.
Holy shit! Thank God. Thank God that's over because I'm tired and I'm hurt. No, I mean it was a lot of things running through my head, a lot of just things in life that kind of led up to that kind of a moment. So a lot of that was playing in my head, but also I was just trying to be in the present. So you don't really think in moments like that. You're just kind of there. But I was just trying to soak in everything because I knew like this was a huge moment for us, and it's not those kind of moments don't come very often. So when they do, you really got to kind of like soak it in. So I was just trying to be in the present.
Yeah, that's crazy. One thing I wanted to bring up to you is when I had like first seen that photo. I'm pretty sure it was on Facebook, but it like do you remember Armageddon 2009 when it was Triple H and Edge versus Jeff Hardy?
Oh yeah,
And yeah, and Jeff Hardy had won the WWE Championship,
yeah,
and
it was
you
like one of my
heard
favorite moments.
JR. Yeah, you heard JR say like that he had like realized a dream of a lifetime. And for some reason when I saw that photo, that was the first thing that popped into my head was that whole like JR saying that but with Spencer Scott in it. I just thought that was
Yeah,
so funny.
that's really cool. That means a lot. Jeff Hardy was one of my favorite wrestlers when I was growing up. Like even still, I love Jeff Hardy. So like that's really cool. Like it's just funny how life works sometimes.
That is so cool. So it's like what was your guys's like post interaction with Zay? Like when you guys went through the curtain and you guys had gone through that emotional moment together, what was your guys' first interaction as you guys went behind the curtains?
We just hugged. We just hugged. It was a lot of emotional. It was a very emotional moment for us. We just kind of were like we could finally like come down a little bit. And like a lot of people from the locker room were like coming and like saying congratulations and hugging us and everything. It was a really great moment. But I think we were just embracing because we're on the same page. Like we both just experienced that, so it's just it's cool having someone else to share these experiences with.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, well, what was happening? Like, were you guys interacting in that moment before the camera came up to shoot the promo, and you guys just really just delivered your guys' overall emotion? Like, how did you guys really deliver that message throughout that promo?
Yeah, I mean, we just went to the back and sat down. We were kind of talking, and then they brought over a camera and said, just talk. And it was just kind of stream of consciousness, like whatever was coming to my mind is kind of what I said. Yeah, it was they just came up with a camera and started shooting and got our pretty like honest reaction.
Yeah, I think what could kind of like coordinate with that is kind of like taking the DOA tag team title photos. Like, is that what like the pictures that you were imagining when you were thinking about holding the tag team titles, or was it like just really cool to see the actual outcome of both of you holding them?
It was a little bit of both. I definitely wanted that picture with the titles. I wanted to send that to my mom. But yeah, I mean, it was just we were just on cloud nine. We were just kind of bouncing around, and they had the setup in the back. So we just took some pictures just so we could kind of remember this moment, and maybe get some nice, like you saw like the last month of DOA graphic. It was a new one of us with the titles. Just little things like that. It's just like seeing that on a match graphic, us holding the titles. It's like, man, like we really did that.
Yeah. Is that like something that like you've always dreamed about? Because like I've always thought that it would be really crazy just to like initially see your face on a graphic card. So it's like how was those two experiences for you? Like not only seeing for the first time you being on a graphic, but now holding the tag team titles on a graphic. Like that has to be insane.
Yeah, I remember the first time we got a graphic. It was for POW. It was like we weren't even the Flamin' Aces yet. This is the first time, or this is the second time we had teamed together, and we were wrestling Derek Shaw and Dr. Cleaver, and they made us a match graphic, and we were like geeked out. We're like, holy shit, dude! Like we got a match graphic. This is crazy. And now, like seeing us on a match graphic with the tag team championships, it's like, man, like we've come a really long way. We still got a long ways to go, but it's nice to just take a step back and kind of realize like how far we've really come.
Yeah, that is so cool. I know when I was interviewing Max Burnside, I had brought up about him retweeting. I think it was your tweet about Jeff Hardy's entrance, and you had said that like you live this. So like, why that whole complete entrance? Is that how you feel whenever you make your entrance?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not hitting the juke, but I'm trying to channel something when I make my entrance. I'm a big entrance guy. Like I love the theatrical entrances and like the entrances that like give you chills and things like that, or just invoke some kind of emotion out of you. So like I love entrances. So I'm always trying to channel something in my entrances. Sometimes I might hit a juke once in a while. You know, if the time's right, I might hit one.
That is awesome. All right, well, I just want to give like a quick shout out really fast. So there's this little dude named Brandon that I just want to give a quick shout out to. I know I've heard that he's actually watched every single one of my interviews, and I just want to thank him for actually sitting here and giving me some support. So shout out to Brandon before we actually continue with everything. I appreciate it. All right, man. Well, let's kind of start to talk about Wrestling Open. So, like, how did that whole opportunity come to be for you?
It's really funny. It came together very quickly. So I'm from New Hampshire. I lived there my whole life, up until like 2019. So I was just back home visiting family. I had brought my gear because you always bring your gear. That's what they say. Always bring your gear. That's what they say, and it's very true. So I brought my gear just in case anything popped up. I had planned on training at the I think it's the New England pro wrestling. I can't remember what their exact name is, but one of the wrestling schools in New Hampshire. I was just going to go train there just so I could meet them and kind of network and get some more training. And then Wrestling Open, which I had been following them. I know about Wrestling Open. I obviously wanted to wrestle on Wrestling Open. They put out a tweet that was like, if you're in the area and you can work, send us a DM. So I decided to send them a DM. When I was sending, I was like, "There's no way like anything's gonna come of this." But the worst I could say is no. So like, we might as well send a message. And then like a day later, they messaged me back, and we're like we started talking back and forth, and they added me to the little roster thing for that show. And it was just like, oh man, like it's happening. I guess like we're here.
Oh, that is so crazy. Because
Yeah,
like there are like a lot of like really really big stars that like will like run through that company, and like it's like that had to be crazy to actually go into a whole new locker room and have to interact with maybe these new wrestlers that maybe you haven't been able to interact with before. So like how is that for you?
Yeah, it was really cool. The East Coast, like New England, they have a lot of good wrestlers. Like Miracle Generation was there when I went to Wrestling Open. They're an incredible tag team. I would love to wrestle Miracle Generation. But like they were there. Ichiban, he's incredible. Max Caster was there. That was cool to meet him. But like the East Coast has a lot of great wrestlers. I'd love to get out there more and wrestle some of their guys, or just meet more of their guys, because East Coast and West Coast people are like a little different. Like I think some people might think I'm like a little bit of a jerk because it's just like the East Coast in me. But then I go back to the East Coast and they're all kind of like me, so I'm like all right, I'm back home. But no, it was great. I love being out there. I love that opportunity. That was like a really really fun chance I got to have.
Yeah. So like can you kind of like walk us through like that whole match and how everything kind of went down?
Yeah, they told me I was gonna wrestle Joe Ocasio. I had never seen him before, but when I saw him in person, I was like, this guy's big. He's a strong boy. And they just sent us out. He beat me very quickly. I got a few things in though, but he beat me very quickly. Some of my family got to be there. But yeah, that match was really fun. It was a good opportunity, and it was a good chance to wrestle someone that I've never wrestled before, that I've never seen before. And he was great. He was awesome.
Yeah. That is so cool. So like let's kind of talk about DOA We've Got Heat. And I know like you had kind of said that it was kind of like a time crunch to be able to get back to the Pacific Northwest. So like how was that like really kind of rushing to get back before the show?
That's right. Yeah, because I had told them that I wasn't going to be able to make that show. I didn't know if they had any plans for us, but I wasn't going to be able to make that show because I was back in the East Coast. And I don't know, something didn't dawn on me that the show was the same day that I flew back. And I looked at my flight, and I was landing pretty early, or like not early, but like I was landing in enough time that I could make it to the show. So I sent them a message like, hey, like I can, I can be there. I'm not going to be there early, but I can be there. And they said it was fine. So I came, and I came at the right time because they were beating up on my poor boy Zay. And I came in and just, I had to clear him out.
Yeah.
So it was good timing.
So like how did it feel to like have Zay in that situation against Charlie Avell and I apologize. But then like coming out and then having that pop go off where it's like, you know, as soon as people saw you coming to save him, it was like everybody was just so into it. So like, how does it feel to be able to develop a character in which people can adapt to and will actually just really get excited whenever you make your entrance?
It's really cool because a lot of times I doubt myself of whether I'm actually at that point or not.
Mhm.
But when I hit the curtain and I slid in the ring, like the crowd was up. They wanted someone to come save poor Zay, and I happened to come in, and it all worked out. I'm glad they cheered. It would have been really weird if they booed. You know, like if I came out to save Zay and they started booing me, that might have been a little weird. So I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah. That is so cool. I know during that time, I know I had shared in another podcast that like that was one time in which my mom had kind of realized exactly what professional wrestling can do to you when you can really attach to somebody or follow them on social media, because that was the only times in which people could maybe understand like that you maybe wouldn't have been there, and that's what made it like so surprising, you know, and it's like
Yeah,
it is so
and
awesome.
and I don't think most people knew that to begin with. Like they probably didn't know I was in the East Coast. They didn't know why I wasn't there. I just wasn't there, and then I happened to show up. So it was a nice little surprise.
That is so awesome. So let's kind of talk about last night a little bit and what happened at airing of grievance. So
Yeah.
what exactly happened?
So I got to the show, and Zay texted me, and he said that he might not make it because it's been snowing over down in Bend for like the last 3-4 days, and a lot of the interstates and the passes were closed. So he really had, and his car couldn't make it through the snow, so there's no way for him to like get there safely. And he was gonna try to take like a bus, but the bus ended up canceling on him. So he was like really in a bad situation. But I wasn't. Brian Zane wanted to strip the titles from us, and I didn't think that was necessarily fair. And I thought I could have found a partner, and I think everyone knows who I would have chose as my partner, because he was in the building. But he said no, so he gave me the option of going on my own, and I kind of thought about it for a minute, and the only thing that was kind of running through my mind was like these are the moments that can make you. Like these are the moments that like really show like what you got. So I just looked at it as an opportunity to kind of show the people like what I'm all about, because they know what we're all about as a team. But I like being able to show what I'm all about and what I can do. So I was really open to the challenge. And I knew it was going to be hard, and it didn't work out in my favor, but at least I can say that I tried, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you about you being able to call an audible, because like to me like you were, I'm not, you know, like you were just a really really good professional wrestler, and your ability to be able to call audibles or be in a situation in which you have to adapt to whatever situation is coming to you or the match in which you have to go to is
Mm-hmm.
just absolutely amazing. And so it's like, how is it for you to go into those situations and have to call those audibles on maybe, you know, what happened to Zay, or you know, going into just these matches? Like that has to be insane.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's still wrestling. So like you still go out there and you still do what you know how to do. Um,
Mm.
but I look at it as it's all just opportunities to grow. Like the the more you're able to adapt to whatever situation is put in front of you, the better you're going to be in those situations. Um, I just look at it as just an opportunity to um, just a challenge, you know, just to step up to the challenge. So those are the kind of things that I live for. So like, you know, it'll never really affect, because I've had matches where like things have had to be changed, like the card's subject to change, right? So
Hmm.
I've had matches where like things have changed, or we kind of have to figure out where to go because of the circumstances. And that's kind of the fun part of it, is like being able to kind of get to the end result. And sometimes it's not a straight path to get there necessarily. I think that's kind of the fun part of it all.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, how was it like sitting there and kind of cutting that promo with Brian Zane and working with the GM of DOA, and like knowing the seriousness in which you guys had to try and put together to really build that whole storyline?
I mean, it was pretty easy. I was on the phone. Brian Zane came up to me. He hung up on Zay. And it was serious. It was a very serious situation because I'm finding out my tag team champion partner can't make it to the show. So I'm obviously like serious. I'm trying to figure out what to do. And then as me and Brian started talking, we kind of came up with the solution. And then the gears really started turning. It's like, okay, like this is on me now. So I need to figure out what I need to do to make sure we keep these titles.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it wasn't hard to show the seriousness of it because it was serious.
Yeah, I don't know why, but like you're pretty good at like cutting promos. Like I remember when you and Zay had like slammed through the back door, and then you just went back and just immediately started cutting that promo, or being in that serious moment and being able to just speak your mind as a professional wrestler to the camera. Like what goes through your mind before you're actually cutting that promo?
I mean, I'm not a very natural speaker, so I can't like I don't try to memorize anything I'm gonna say, or like I have bullet points of things that I want to hit, like certain topics I want to hit or whatever. Whenever I'm cutting a promo, like I know the certain things that I really need to like get in there. But for the most part, I just kind of let it rip, like just kind of whatever comes to me, I just kind of say. Sometimes sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't, but I want everything I say to be as authentic as possible, and I don't want it to seem like it's like staged or like someone's giving me a script or something, because they're not. Like it's me just really speaking from my heart and just whatever comes to me.
Yeah.
So nothing's really going through my head except for the things that I need to make sure that I put in there, and just not sounding like an idiot.
So here's a interesting question that I had for you. So like whenever you're going into a match or going into a rivalry, I don't know if like maybe you can relate to this, but like there are like three stages of like underthinking something, and then thinking about something, and then overthinking. And so it's like, how do you kind of coordinate to where like you're not overthinking about what exactly you want to do, either outside the ring or inside the ring?
I guess just going off of my, like, just trusting my intuition. Like, it's inevitable. I overthink about things very often. And then there'll be some times where I don't think about something as much as I should. I just try to go off my instinct and whatever my gut tells me. I try not to overthink too much, because I know in the grand scheme of things, like a lot of the things that we think matter really don't matter. So yeah, I just try to go off what my gut tells me and what my instincts tell me.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the handicap match with you and the Hammer Brothers. So, can you kind of walk us through that match a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the circumstances made it a handicap match. It's unfortunate, but I felt the need to step up to the challenge. I know I talked to Zay, and he agreed that that's what I should do, and he was fully supportive of that. And I knew going into it, I wanted to try and end it quickly, and I wanted to try to have Sledge in the ring as least amount of time as possible, because I can handle Jack. Like, Jack is strong. He's a big dude. Like, he's very strong. He's a tough guy. But I can handle that. Sledge is a little more hard because I can't pick him up. He doesn't go down very easy at all. So I had to figure out like creative ways to kind of take him out of it, which is not easy. Um,
Mm.
so I just, I came up with a little game plan. I tried to end it quickly during the start. Um, but it was 2 against 1, so I was kind of outnumbered. They kind of used that to their advantage, which, I can't say I blame them, but I don't know how they can feel good about themselves winning the titles back from one person. Me personally, I don't know how good I'd feel about that. So, but that's up to them. I tried to go into it with as much hope as I could, I suppose. I knew it was going to be an uphill battle, but I just went off my instincts, just trusted my intuition.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, what was running through your mind as soon as they actually got the 1, 2, 3 and the ref rang the bell?
Well, I was in a lot of pain, so I that was kind of on the forefront of my mind, that my back really hurts, and they just slammed me on my head, so my head hurts. But I knew what happened, and I knew that this was a very possible outcome. So I was really disappointed in myself, but you got to live to fight another day.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, what did those titles mean to you for the period of time that you were able to hold them?
It was everything. Like the culmination to get to that point was like everything, and it took a long time, I think, for the fans of DOA to kind of like get behind. Like it took them a while to kind of understand us and kind of get behind us. But now I know they're behind us. I know they want to see us get those titles back, and it means a lot to us, that the fans and DOA, um, sees enough in us to want to put us in that position to be champions. It's like kind of like a badge of honor.
Mhm.
And that's the goal. Like that's all we've wanted. We wanted to be one of those teams that is always in title contention, and that you could always see as being the champions. Um, so it meant a lot when we finally had that, and it felt like we made it to the apex of DOA, and I just wish we got to do it. I wish it got to be a little longer. I wish we got to really show what we could do as champions. But I have a good feeling that it won't be the last time we have those titles. We if we want to get technical about it, Zay still has one of the titles, right? He still owns one of the titles. I only had my title. I didn't have both of them. So according to my calculations, that means that we are still one DOA tag team champion, and they are one DOA tag team champion. So now we're gonna have to settle this.
All right, man. Well, so what is like one warning that you would give to Jack and Sledge if they were listening to this right now?
One warning. I would say the only warning is that they don't realize how bad we want it. They don't realize how much more those titles mean to us than they mean to them. To them, it's just another title, you know. But to us, it's much more than that. It's being the DOA tag team champions of the DOA fans, of the DOA universe, if you will. Um, we want to represent DOA the best way possible. Um, so if that means doing things that we wouldn't normally do, or we've done it before. We did it with the Dregs. We tapped into something that we don't really bring out very often, a very like violent side of us. And if that's what it takes to get them back, that's what we're gonna do. Just the only warning I have for them is that they don't. I don't think they realize what we will do to get those back.
That is so awesome. All right. Well, like, what could we expect from the future of Spencer Scott?
It's a tough question because there's so many uncontrollable things that happen in wrestling. So I have no idea what the future will hold. All I do know is that we want to keep moving up. We want to be one of the premier tag teams in the Pacific Northwest in professional wrestling. Like we want to be everywhere. We want to be on these big shows. We want to, we want to get out there. We want to start kind of being able to branch out and have people recognize us all over the place. Definitely look for us to be getting out there more to different places. We're trying to get down to Vegas right now. We know a lot of people in Vegas, and we want to get down there. Just expect a lot of growth, because we're going to keep working, and we're going to keep learning and keep growing. That's all you can expect, is just growth.
That is so awesome. Well, maybe where can people find you guys on social media?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at, I guess, X now, at Spencer Scott Pro. I think Zay's at is the actual Zay, and then you can find us on Instagram at the Flamin' Aces.
That is awesome. Right, man. Well, before we actually end up closing everything out, I have one more last question for you.
Right.
Is there any last words or advice that you would give to maybe any of the upcoming talent that is actually training at Oregon Pro Wrestling School?
There's a lot, but I'll try to keep it brief. Work hard. Be a good person. Don't be an idiot. Don't make a fool of yourself, and just be humble and be appreciative of everything that you get, because you're not owed anything. We're not owed anything. Neither is anybody else. So just being grateful and appreciative of everything that comes your way. And, the less that you complain, the less stressed you're going to be. Just enjoy the process, and just enjoy being in a ring and being in front of people and being able to do something that you love. Don't be so hyper fixated on the end goal. Just have fun, and don't be an idiot. Don't mess it up.
All right, man. Well, that is freaking awesome. Well, I cannot thank you so very much, man, for actually joining me back here today, man. It's been freaking awesome.
Yeah, of course, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you, man. I appreciate you.
All right, man. Well, I hope you have a very, very good night, and I cannot wait to see you soon.
Thank you, sir. You too.
All right, bye.
Take care, everybody.
Well, all right, you guys. So that was Interesting's podcast interview with Spencer Scott. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I upload content. Make sure to go and follow me on social media at CodyT503. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I'll catch you guys later.